Critical thinking, to me, is the lead to your truth.
In the first 3 days, we had about 15 death threats.
The Bible does that. It gives you the beginning, it gives you the end.
The other side doesn't get it. How do they not see what we see?
He'll do more than you can expect, imagine, or ask for.
This isn't a one-sided problem. It's not a Republican problem. It's not a Democrat problem. It is our problem.
I want to be heard. I want to be seen. I want to be accepted. I want to be loved.
50% of people think it is okay to kill somebody for their belief.
It's dangerous for all of us right now. If we don't realize that, then you're not paying attention.
When you spark thought in anybody, it can lead to generational change.
If they sacrifice who they are to become someone they're not, it is hard to get it back.
That is how the nation comes together, because a nation divided cannot stand.
All right, I've got a very special guest with me today. His name is Charlie. Charlie, welcome to the Wire for Impact podcast.
Thank you, thank you.
I'm very excited. This is the first time I've ever done in person a 3-person interview, which is good for me to help.
This is my first person interview too.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. And then also my first teenager on the podcast. So we're cracking some boundaries here. You came on my radar, as you did thousands of other people in the last few weeks, because of a few videos that you posted that went viral after the Charlie Kirk assassination. So we have Charlie's mom with us as well, Lory. So thank you for joining us.
It's an honor.
Why don't we start with some brief introductions so people can know who you are and who we're talking to here. So Lory, why don't you start?
My name's Lory, and I'm Charlie Brown's mom, which has absolutely become my identity. Charlie Brown's mom. Yep, I'm good with it.
Very good. And then Charlie, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Spiel. Hi, my name is Charlie Brown, and I'm the founder of We Are Charlie. I created the movement around, a week and a half ago?
Yes.
And that's kind of my life now.
You started this organization, We Are Charlie. Great name, by the way.
Thank you. It was Where's Charlie? Because I did a name change like twice.
I was going to ask you, because one of the videos, I was like, I think he said Where's Charlie?
I did a name change.
Who is Charlie is better. Yeah, I like that one better.
And when I went so my background is nonprofit consulting, so I take a great idea to fully fund it. And when this really popped off, Charlie was like, maybe we need to do something with this. So when I went to get the entity's name, Where's Charlie was already gone. So we very quickly shifted to the rest of his message, which was, I am Charlie, you are Charlie, we are Charlie.
I love that. Yeah, that's powerful. And, it's like to see the sort of meteoric rise you've had in the last handful of weeks. Your name is Charlie.
Yes, it is.
It kind of feels beyond coincidence. I'm
13. Charlie Kirk died at 31.
Yeah, again.
As a Christian believer, I'm still trying to fight out the whole, is this a coincidence? Am I doing this on accident?
Right.
I'm still working all that out as of now, because I don't want to do something that is not going to be worth my time.
Right.
It's just, I've been through a lot of prayer with it as well.
We're going to get into some of that. I want to hear some backstory on that. So let's start with the assassination. Where were you? When did you find out about it?
I was actually at my house, and my mother told me.
Okay.
You told me. And I actually walked down and she told me, because it's kind of hard to comprehend at first. She was like, oh, well, not a lot of, after the Trump assassination, you're not really used to seeing somebody or knowing that somebody's dead. So it's just kind of a lot to take in.
Yeah.
So it's not really affecting you till 2-3 days later. And that's kind of when I started to actually pray about if there's something I could do, because I noticed that there was a couple things wrong, but I don't know what that thing that was wrong was, which is why I started praying into that.
Interesting. Did you happen to see the video?
Unfortunately, like the unfiltered video.
Yeah, I saw it
for a while.
Happen too, and it was rough. I mean, that's not something you're meant to see. You know, we're I believe spiritual beings. We're not. It hurts your soul, I think, when you see something like that. Regardless, exactly. So it took you a few days then to kind of let this sink in. When did you start to think, I need to do something about this?
When I started reading the Constitution. So when Charlie died, the next day, I was already reading the Constitution because I was wondering, and I read the amendments, the articles, and I thought to myself, how far has the nation come from the Constitution? And it is extreme. We have come very far.
Yes.
Our free speech is under attack. They're under attack of our right to bear arms, and there's a few other unnoticed amendments, like some of the Senate. People are getting kicked out before they can. It's unconstitutional. There's a lot of other study stuff I'm doing with it. But that's when I started to notice that something was wrong.
And then when did you start to feel like that you needed to do something about it?
When it it hit really hard because it's like, okay, because I looked up to Charlie, especially.
So were you already following him? And
I was.
Okay.
Not like as I've said before, it's kind of, it hurts to know that when somebody dies, that's when everybody starts to notice them because like, oh, he died.
Yeah.
And then everybody starts watching them and doing all that kind of stuff. That's when I started to really get involved. And that's when I noticed that when a man dies for saying what he believes in, that's when a nation has become tyrannical. I'm not trying to end a government. I'm just trying to bring kids to critical thinking, to spark thought. Because once you spark thought in that person, they have to critically think about that thing and then make that decision themselves. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm telling you how to think. And it kind of, that's my real goal.
How did your friends respond to it?
I'm gonna be honest, I'm homeschooled, so I don't have any friends, but application's open. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I do have a few friends. They thought it was kind of cool.
I'm sure you have a few friends now.
I do.
Yeah.
They think it's pretty cool. Some of the friends I've had for like around 2 years now, they think it's pretty cool. They're helpful, supportive, even.
Right. Well, it was pretty obvious that you're homeschooled because you're articulate, you're
Thanks.
intelligent, you know about the Constitution. Not to
I mean,
rip
who
on
reads
public
the Constitution just for fun?
Right, exactly. That was the part I didn't want to say it loud, but thank you for owning that. No, it's sadly the public schools are not teaching this to our kids, and even private schools are kind of glossing over this and whatnot. So you are clearly a byproduct of your parents. I've gotten to talk to them a little bit too. So Lory, let's hear a little bit about your background because this is, again, goes beyond coincidence, I think. You guys are the right family at the right time to maybe spearhead this thing. So tell us a little bit about your professional background.
Sure. So I actually took a job when Charlie Brown was at a private Christian school. They needed a development director. And it fell within my wheelhouse. I am always been in sales and advertising of some kind. And development director is a lot like that, only deeper relationship building.
Okay.
So I took the job and was with him the whole time he was at this Christian school. So when I left the school, I brought him home to homeschool. He was in the 5th grade. And I started my own consultancy. I absolutely love building relationships. I love taking great ideas to fully funded. So when Charlie's video went like it did, I knew exactly what to do. But his dad's been in sales and marketing and promotions and events for a long time. So his dad knew exactly what to do. His sister has been working on her own clothing designs and storefronts and all of those things online for a couple of years, and toying with the idea and coming up with different aesthetics and that kind of thing. So she knew exactly what to do. And it appeared as if we had premeditated all of this, but there is zero opportunity to make this kind of synergy happen all at once. When he wanted to film this, I thought, well, he needed a way to process. He was too young to join Turning Point. He was too old to do nothing, is what he'll tell you. And he wanted to do this video. So I thought, well, if we recorded this and he gets a couple hundred attaboys, maybe he'll do a follow-up thank you. And he would have a chance to process and we'd be done with it. But here we're sitting with you.
So kind of emphasize that point. I recorded the video with zero expectations. I then went inside, sat around for a few minutes, then prayed to God and said, if this is what you want me to do, blow this up. Oh, well, look what happened.
Wow. So how many total views are you at right now?
So realistic number, if you look at the post, 1.5 million now. It's like 1.53. And then within reposts and shares analytics, it's around 45.3 million.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Yeah. Obviously, you struck a chord. One of the things that really stood out to me about you was I saw actually a decent amount of other teenagers, young men, step forward and say, hey, we need to carry the torch, which all of them were inspirational. All of them were very courageous. But you struck a different chord, I think. Why do you think that is?
Matt, that's why I think it's God, because I think I can say, oh, I'm in a debate league, I do speech, that's why I say things. But that's not necessarily true. Any person can speak extremely articulately.
Yes.
My bad. But when they say it and they don't really mean it, and there's no structure behind it, it has no meaning. But I think that God was my meaning behind this, and that's why it struck so hard, because there's been revivals around the nation. There's been people saying there's something wrong, but they can't access that. And by seeing me trying to take a stand on what I think is wrong, it kind of points them in the right direction. So it gives them a reason to say, oh, that kind of makes sense. I guess I'll follow this.
Very well stated. Lory, what was your response to the video taking off? Because if you were thinking it was going to be a couple hundred views and then all of a sudden this thing blows up. As a mother, how did you
It's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, I bet.
So again, you've got to go lean back into your faith. So his dad and I had several conversations. What does this mean? What is our response to this? What is our family dynamic to this? Our family had meetings about this. So in the first 3 days, we had about 15 death threats. And it's not just ambiguous when someone wants to assassinate a 13-year-old child for saying what he thinks is wrong. So we had a lot of family discussion. I lean into praying. I want to hear like I'm 7. I don't want to do more than what God has intended for us. We know that the word tells us that he has authored good works for us to walk in. So if I'm doing something that he hasn't authored for me, there is no protection. There's nothing under the covenant for that. But if I'm doing exactly what he has called Charlie to do, which is my job, to support what Charlie believes he is called to do. So if we're doing that as a family in agreement, then we're going to face it.
Yeah. Something that I think a lot of people are coming to is the realization that it's dangerous for all of us right now. If we don't realize that, then you're not paying attention. There's a lot of people I think that aren't still paying attention quite yet. But to me, the whole Charlie Kirk thing was a wake-up call for a lot of people.
Sadly.
I saw well, not me personally, but there were, I believe, thousands of tweets and comments of people saying, I don't know why, but I feel like I need to go to church today. I don't know why, but I opened the Bible for the first time in 30 years today.
To add to that, as a 13-year-old, I scroll on TikTok, and like the day after it happened, actually it might have even been hours, I saw around cold hard gas 15 to 20 TikToks of people switching sides on politics from Democrat to Republican. It's kind of crazy to see because you can be so set on something and then one dramatic change can set forth everything. We've seen revivals. We've seen in Australia, in Sydney, they had I think there was 50,000 people there that came to a celebration of life or vigil, I guess, for Charlie. And it's a completely different country. For me, in my movement, I have people that are on my media team and all that kind of, my moderator team, that are from Australia, New Zealand, Ethiopia. I just pulled on somebody from Africa. I'm from Europe, from Canada. I've UK. They're from all over the world.
It's incredible. Global operation.
And to add to that kind of revival idea too, tell Peter about your guy from Australia who had lived.
So, won't name drop, but he's in my Discord, in my community. And he was has been a cold hard atheist. Charlie died. He didn't necessarily know what to do is what he was saying. And he actually came to me and a few other guys. We have a youth pastor and a worship leader and a math teacher. So we all know how to lead. And he said, guys, I am an atheist, but I just bought a Bible and I'm coming to Christ. And because I don't know how to do that and I need your help. He's 42. And it's really cool to see him come to somebody that's even younger than him to show the respect to somebody that he knows has knowledgeable about that. That's how the world comes together. Is even if somebody's younger than you, doesn't mean they have expertise. And I think what we've done with him is he's reading his Bible now every night. He's praying. He's an amazing man. I like him. And we've also got a couple early Christians. We do Bible studies every 2 days. We're trying to keep everybody engaged in a good and positive way.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because I think let's speak to that audience that is like, hey, something's off. I'm going to go to church now. I literally saw somebody say, I don't even know what that means. Do I just walk in? Do I have to sign up? There's a lot of people that are very, very new. So do you have any advice for people who are in that stage that are looking to better understand, just the Bible in general, but really ultimately Christ and this movement, this revival?
There's a verse, I can't quote it. Don't quote me on this, but there's a verse, I think it's in Hebrews, that states something about the fellowship. It says that it is a great thing in your faith. Nobody should have to do faith alone. I don't think that helps a lot, but I think that going to church, it's kind of like, for me, it'd be like going to somewhere new. You have to meet new people. It's just a requirement of life.
Right.
So my advice would be to go to church, find somebody that you can connect with, or even bring a friend. Like, I have friends that are atheists and they know that I'm a Christian. So if I were to say, hey, let's go to church, and they were like, okay, I'd lead them to Christ myself. So find somebody that's either a friend of yours or somebody you want to get to know, and they'll lead you themselves. Because when you have somebody else to show you the way, it makes it a million times easier. So just go to church, because a fellowship is everything. You shouldn't have to read the Bible yourself, because understanding it is going to be difficult. I think that going to church, reading your Bible, and praying are all the simple stuff, and then you go from there.
This you may not have a fully fleshed out answer up to this just yet, and I am still on my walk to better understand the Bible. What if you were to explain to somebody that hasn't really opened the Bible yet what the Bible is? How would you help break that down?
It's the way, the truth, and the life, just like God is, because God has written, I guess you could say, written through people for the Bible, but to put simply, He wrote the Bible. Everything in it is true. Everything in it is pure. Everything in it is godly. So by reading it, you bring yourself to a faith, and it teaches you to be anything you wanted. I think that the Bible is a great guide in life. Revelation teaches you about how the end is going to look. Actually, throughout it, Psalms even has verses about the end. Genesis is how the world started, so it gives you an understanding of that. And NCFCA, which is National Christian Forensics, I'm missing a C, but I don't know the full name, but I'm in a speech.
We won't hold it against.
Thanks. I'm in a speech league, and when you give a speech, you have a 3-point presentation, and then paragraphs, and then you have to do those 3 points. The Bible does that. It gives you the beginning, it gives you times, it gives you the end. That's 3 points, and that's that. I think it's the way, the truth, in life, but it gives you that 3-point presentation. It's easy to understand if you have God on your side.
You mentioned something there about what the Bible communicates, that you have to be aware that it has those 3 points for you to see it in there, right? I didn't know that. So now I'm going to be looking out for that. There's so many things, they call the Bible the living word. And I have been fascinated. So I grew up in Christianity. I've shared this before on the podcast, but just to give you a quick background, I grew up in Christianity, but I would always say that I knew of Jesus. I didn't have a relationship with him. And it wasn't until the last probably couple of years when I started to sense that things were off. Like really off. And I started to talk to people on the ground. I've had a few people on my podcast who were service members that fought in Afghanistan, and some of the stories that they would tell me, some even off camera, really got me thinking. And not just that, but other investigative journalists. I've had an Emmy Award-winning investigative journalist on that got forced out of CBS at the time, and the attack on her computer at night. It's like there's clearly something off. I started to backtrack and realize, there's things happening in the world today that are literally written in the book of Revelation. And that's when I started to get a little nervous. So when I started to read that, that's when I had a very supernatural experience with the Holy Spirit, and Jesus revealed himself to me as God. And I had not made that connection yet. I grew up in a faith that said Jesus was a great example, but not God in the flesh. So that was a revelation for me. And then since then, I've really dove into the book. And so the point that I'm trying to make with it being the living word, there's so many things that I've been learning that are connecting. It speaks to you in layers. I'll read it first at face value, and I'll go, that's interesting. And then I realize, no, Jesus was using a metaphor to communicate something to, parables. What was he saying? Yeah, the parables or metaphors to his disciples. There's a lesson in that. And then I was like, no, wait, that's a parable for me. He's talking to me here. And so it has this multi-dimensional.
Yeah.
And then you realize, wait, he said that, or this was prophesied in the Old Testament. This is a repeating message. There's something in that. So it just continues to unfold. It's
Proverbs is one of those books.
Yeah. It's incredible. So you don't find that out if your only exposure to Jesus is the guy in the street corner that's annoying, that is trying to blare it in your face, and you're like, I don't want to hear it. You have to have a hunger and thirst after righteousness, which sounds like you certainly have.
I love the way Lance Wallnau puts it, to layer even what you're describing. And what he says is you can read the newspaper and your Bible, and you'll understand the world a whole lot better.
Yes. Have you read the book called The Bible Code?
I haven't.
It hasn't fully sunk in if it's real or not, but it literally talks about that they've discovered a code that the Bible, like if you looked at every 379th letter, it would spell out modern day. It literally is like you're reading the headlines of the newspaper.
Wow.
It'll say like, World War II atom bombs.
Jonathan Cahn is really good at dissecting that too. Our headlines juxtaposed ancient history.
I have to admit, before I really felt the Spirit, it was my intellectual curiosity. Like, this goes beyond coincidence. There's something to this whole thing that's, dare I say, magical. But, that's ultimately what led me to the truth. And I saw a great meme the other day that said, spoiler alert, Jesus is the answer.
Right.
So I've spent some time in meditation world. I've spent some time even with plant medicines. You don't need to dabble in any of that. But but this was still something that I still consider myself a Christian, and I had some of my fundamental beliefs really shaken when my mother passed on, because it just opened a door for me of, hey, my faith, the one that she was very convicted to, didn't work. We thought it was all about healing, and healing obviously is very important, but it opened a door of thought for me that was like, what did she miss? And so since then I was on this journey, and ultimately I did find my way back to Christ. And so anyway, I wanted to get your take, Lory, on the question that I asked Charlie a minute ago about what would you say to somebody who's searching, who feels something's off, who might have gone into church the first time, just opened the Bible. What would you say to somebody like that?
I'd say don't think that Jesus is sitting in the pew. He's not. If you're going to church to find the face of Jesus and the character of Jesus reflected in the people, consider it more like a hospital. You're going into the ER, you're going to meet some people that are going to help you triage, and then you're going to have to discover Jesus for yourself, intimately involved in your life through reading the Word and understanding who He is.
I've never thought of it that way. That's a great... Did you come up with that? Or?
Yeah, I did. Just now.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a Holy Spirit thing. That's a very... I'm going to have to let that one marinate a little bit.
To add what you were saying, like you kept saying thought. That's one of the reasons, or the extreme main reason I started this whole movement, because when something gets started that increases the thought within a person's mind, that's like, oh, you said something is wrong and you don't know what it is. So the human nature is to seek out that wrong. It always has been. So when they find that wrong, or I'm giving them a way to find that wrong. I love how everybody keeps saying there's something wrong, there's something wrong. You've said it, I've been on a couple other people that said it, but that's thought. When you spark thought in anybody, it can lead to generational change.
What I've found interesting too on this journey, we've got a really good friend. His name is Casey, and he hired an advertising agency to do some research for him. He is working on a manufacturing project. And what that advertising agency discovered was that 60% of the people that we know face to face all the time do not have any inner dialogue whatsoever. So whatever they're told, they take
believe.
as truth. Right.
It's interesting because I've talked to a lot of different people from different walks of life, and we all go home thinking the other side doesn't get it. How do they not see what we see? It's so, visceral to our experience. And that alone, this is my humble opinion, that alone should lead you to think, even if you are 1,000% right, and the person across the table from you thinks differently and they're 1,000% wrong, if they think that they're 1,000% right, we need to elevate our thought to go, what's going on here? Because these are reasonably intelligent people. These are, teachers and neighbors and professors. And, why are we going home thinking the other side is crazy for not seeing what we see? What do you think?
One thing you said, one side's 1,000% right, the other side's 1,000% wrong. When you do a debate, you get judges. So for me, I do forensics. So when you do it, you have the judge, and the whole idea of the debate isn't to debate the person, it's to debate the value. Okay. So when you're debating, I'm not trying to tell that person they're wrong. Okay, you might be able to say, oh my gosh, I'm so wrong. That's a rare coincidence, just saying. But when you do that, you're trying to tell the judges, in my case, or people around you, and in some other cases, that your value or your issue is better than theirs. You're not speaking to the person, you're speaking to the people or the judges and the value. But the second thing is, the reason we all go home thinking everybody is crazy is because of the media. I think it's an extreme part of that, because the media never tells you where the other side is right. It always tells you where it's wrong. I've never seen Fox News say that the Democratic Party is right when they say this. I've never seen CNN say the Republican Party is right when they say this. All I've ever seen is Fox News saying the Democrats did this, they're bad, they're bad. All I've ever seen is CNN saying they're bad, they're bad, they're bad. So when both sides portray each other as bad, then you're set against each other, and there's no way to change that. And I think that's the reason why everybody thinks everybody else is crazy, is because they know nothing else.
And then we get locked into these algorithmic echo chambers online and social media that constantly feeds the evidence that we are right and that they are wrong.
The media gives you a perception of that may not be true.
So how do we elevate beyond that? How do we help take a sledgehammer to that
critical thinking
through however you want?
Okay. So Like, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's because, again, when you spark that thought, you quite literally stray from the media. Then one, the media says this, then you don't think, okay, that's true. Like 60% of the population does. You then think, oh, I'm gonna have to think about that. Your mind changes. It changes your thought. It changes how you say something.
Mm-hmm.
You go from, okay, that's true, to actually, let me flesh that out. Like, as a person who does debate, whenever a media tells you something, like, actually, I think it was last year, my resolution was autonomous systems in war. Like, should we or not?
Uh-huh.
And one of the news came on as something in China about there being new autonomous systems, and they said something like an insane claim. I can't remember what it was. And instead of going, oh, that's true, since I did debate, I just studied that out, fleshed that out, and then put it in my paper and stuff. So I think that it changes your thought. Critical thinking, to me, is the lead to your truth. It doesn't mean you have to be right. It just means you have a way to find a truth instead of something that's told.
I think, to me, that's the most powerful principle that you get through a homeschooling that the school system doesn't. The school system will tell you that they're teaching you critical thinking.
Tell you how to think.
And I just to give you an example, part of my children's upbringing, they were told to become an activist. And I had a problem with that. And I went to speak to the teacher, and the teacher said, no, we're not telling them who to be active for. We just want them to get engaged and be active. And I'm like, but you're activating. You're giving them the frame to operate within, and then giving them the illusion that they have critical thinking and free choice within the parameters that you already set up. And I got a lot of, glossy-eyed stares back at me. They were like, what are you talking about? They're not the school system, at least in my humble experience, they're not aware of Marxist indoctrination. They don't understand frame control and communication. And so they're operating within that, thinking they have all this free, choice. So why don't we shift a little bit and start talking about your entrepreneurial gene? Because, oh my gosh, dude, you are your team.
What part?
The teams.
Oh,
like, well. So I have to confess. So when we talked in a little pre-interview call, I literally was like, "Where's my notepad?" Because I need to start taking notes. Because you have set up. Let's go through all the teams that you already have in your little 2-week fledgling organization with millions of views. It's incredible.
So I was just me at first, and then I posted the video. It got all those views, and naturally I had a whole bunch of direct messages. I took the time of like all day to go through all of them as they came in. There were 2 that stuck out to me. These 2 were fine with being name dropped, so I'm going to. Zach, he is my the Discord board president. Okay. He organizes all my online events and ideas for those events. He's the organizer. And then I got my Discord council VP, Caleb. And he's also out of Discord. He also does like my IT. He runs the media team and the social teams. We'll get to that. But he's been a huge help to us as of Zachary, because he's like, those 2 were a power team. And I got him. Then from there,
are they teenagers too?
They are. Okay. Caleb's 14, and then Zachary's 15.
Okay.
Then I put up first I did a moderator team, because you need that in a community. I have around 15, 16 members in that, 5 of them being trial staff, so we're still trying to figure out.
How many people got over to Discord?
I have 1,000 and I'm probably 1,100.
That's great.
It's a small community for a Discord server, but it's a great start.
Those are the people that understand the tech and understand.
And those are my age too. Yeah. That's why I started a Discord service, because it would be more my age.
Okay.
The moderator team, I have 10 main moderators. So what they do is, like, if anybody says anything that's like we don't agree with, or like something that's bad, it either gets debated or it gets like taken out. That's what they do, and in voice chats as well. Then I got a trial staff moderators, which are just trying to figure out if they're good for moderator yet. Then I got a media team. All they do is, if I send them a video, like if I did a podcast that was mine, I'd give them the video, they'd flesh it out, they'd clip it, they'd edit it, and they do all that for me, and then they give me back and I post it. I also have a social media team, which is basically just Caleb at this point. But we have a few other teams we're building that I really don't know about right now, because it's mostly Caleb and Zach. That's okay. But we have a lot of people that are really working with this. I got a worship leader. He's a worship leader and a math teacher. He loves God. He loves to, he actually wrote a few songs. And what I want to do soon is like a worship and Bible study, all that kind of stuff. So I got him and a Bible study leader. His name is Isaiah. And what he does is every few days we do a Bible study and we flesh out the book of Romans to whatever book he picks. And then from there, I got who else was it? A youth pastor. I thought that was extremely cool because everybody in the Discord, almost everybody is youth. I thought that was extremely useful. So we're putting up Bible study events, debates, Q&As because I want to keep the community engaged. But I do have a whole bunch of people around me.
Well, the fact that you don't have everything nailed down.
Yeah, because it happens so fast.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if it was 4 weeks old, you would have had all these answers.
Or it started slower.
And that doesn't touch his merch team,
Oh, yeah, I got I set up a merch, I guess, I say we, but I mean my COO, my sister, set up a merch, designs. We have a whole bunch of designs. She's got designs on ready. She loves doing that kind of stuff. So she's got designs that are on ready. She's got designs that are already out. We got a store up.
She also collaborated with someone out of California. His kids came home from a Turning Point event, saw the dad, showed dad the video, and he called us right away and said, look, this is what we do for a living. We do it for some Christian artists, some Christian rap artists. We do concerts. We know how to make this logistics work for you. So please let us help you. So his sister has worked with them for these last couple of weeks and worked out 2 different platforms. She launched one store and the store crashed.
So many people came on, it just crashed.
Amazing.
So she had to move, and he's been so amazing. Chris, it's just come together like that.
That's incredible. It's incredible what you've been able to do in such a short period of time.
We had a guy call us and say, I've got a plane. I know you guys are going to get invited. Well, let me get there. So he calls and I'm overwhelmed at, oh my word, a man with a plane wants to talk to us. I mean, you can't make this up.
Yeah.
And so we missed each other in a couple call appointments. And then finally, early in the morning, we talked to each other. He's out of California. He says, look, he said, I'm an aviation instructor. I have a fleet of pilots that if you will send me your travel logistics, I'll tell you whether it's more efficient to be on the road or if we can just hop you around a state.
Wow.
And I'm like, a fleet? You've got to be kidding me.
Wow.
So yeah, stuff like that is happening behind the scenes all the time.
Where there's a need, there's a way. God's fulfilling all the needs more than you probably even knew that you had.
Interesting that you should say that. Yeah. So I got to thinking about it, and right. So I got to thinking, so many times we hear that if you just had faith enough, right?
Faith of a mustard seed.
Right. But God says that he'll do more than you can expect, imagine, or ask for. So he's already expecting us to underestimate him. We never really expect God to show up and show off. We just expect him to meet the minimum requirement if we do all the right things in the right way, asking for the right thing. So as long as he has the gavel in the hand, then we expect him to show up and show off. But this is evidence that that's not exactly how he works. He is waiting to show up and show off on our behalf.
Well, it's apparent.
Right.
It's apparent, but you've already done the legwork and the pre-work. I think, Charlie, that's what's so special about you is that you clearly have been, studying and debating and learning how to communicate and to dress, and that is part of the reality is that you're communicating and how you show up and how you present yourself. So you'd already done the work. So I think that was, to me, one of the real reasons why this is really blowing up so quick.
And wholly unaware of where this was headed. It was interesting, the feedback we got early because this all came together and our family so synergistically answered this call. It looked as if we had premeditated all of this, which is absolutely impossible to have pulled this together like it is.
You have some background. Did you mention that you did some work with the National Republican Party?
I did. Not national. I actually worked for a congressional candidate. In a primary. A couple years ago, she had actually been to some of my events that I was doing for one of the private schools that I work for as a fundraiser, and had sat in the room and watched how I did that. And so when she was going to run for office, she called me and asked me if I would bring that skill set to an election. I have since developed an anaphylaxis response to anything politics, but I've been well educated on the inside.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a new paradigm for people because there's so many that are still locked in that left versus right paradigm, and that this really goes beyond politics. Our politics have been usurped by evil, and I would say both sides. Now, on the other hand, I do think that there is one side that maybe has a little bit more hope for righteousness. Yeah. But as far as I'm concerned, the system is, broken.
Yeah. The thing that surprises me the most is I have people in direct messages telling me that I should kill myself. They're going to shoot me. They wish I was dead. And I think of that and I'm like, most of that comes from one side. I can't tell you which side it was, but it always comes from one side.
Yeah.
But the thing is the movement that I do isn't a one-sided problem. So I stand for protecting free speech and I stand for sparking thought within youth. Both sides should want that. Both sides should want free speech. Both sides should want kids to be empowered to do and speak freely without the fear of dying.
Yeah.
But then when they go out and do that, it makes themselves look bad. But I think that we really need to prioritize that this isn't a one-sided problem. It's not a Republican problem. It's not a Democrat problem. It is our problem. Because instead of working against each other, for once, we should try and work together.
Amen.
Because that is how the nation comes together. Because a nation divided cannot stand.
Well, that really was Charlie Kirk's message. Mm-hmm. You could disagree with him, but he was happy to talk to you about it. And what do you say to people who internalize and process Charlie Kirk's message as hateful and violent and racist and bigoted?
Well, I'll just ask you a question. When did he do that?
I mean, they would point to the clip that he says this, that, or whatever, that in their mind.
That's called perception. So every time I get on TikTok, if I'm on a different account, sometimes I'll just get new videos. And what they do is they go into the recording that Charlie Kirk has, they cut the beginning and the end, and they find the clip they want, and they make it sound like he said something bad. But if you were to go to that clip, find the exact timestamp, and watch the clip fully through, he said nothing racist, nothing worth of bigotry, nothing. So if you were in a real person event kind of debate and they were like, well, Charlie Kirk was hateful, if you ask them to give you an example, everybody I've asked has never had an example, ever. Because they can't, because he hasn't.
I see that over and over and over again. Where is it? And there's nothing there.
No hard proof evidence.
I think that we're dealing with sort of logic and emotion. And I think we have a lot of people that are very emotional, which is okay. We're all emotional beings. We all have emotions. Sometimes those emotions can blind us or what have you. And so that in and of itself isn't wrong or bad, but I think we should get to a point where we have critical thinking, where we can have the emotions, but maybe, what was his name? Gadsden, I think his name is. He said, you can't choose your emotions, but you can challenge your beliefs. And a lot of times our emotions are because we have certain beliefs. And so let's challenge the beliefs. One thing that you just said about taking these clips, just the little clip and not looking at the fuller context. To me, this was critical, is the context. A lot of times the criticism that Charlie Kirk got was he did say those words, quote unquote. He literally said those words. And if you just took that quote, you could say he did say those words. But what is not being shown is the broader context of how he said those words. He was presenting sometimes even an antithetical argument to his own.
Hypothetical, theoretical, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So it just, you have to care. You have to care. And if you don't, and if your feeling is, I don't like people coming at me, then that's when you get violence. Charlie Kirk was very clear on that.
Well, in defaulting to 60%, having no inner dialogue, it doesn't resonate with them to say, did he really say that? And was that wholly in context? They're simply scrolling through 15 seconds worth of a conversation and taking it at face value.
The thing, they're like, I've already been called all those kind of things, all that. But if you were to talk to them, I've already planned it out, don't worry. But if they say that, I've actually texted a person and I said, the only reason you are calling me, well, actually what I said was, you have made mistakes in your life. I've made mistakes in my life. So let's say somebody found something from a past that I may have said and they bring it up. But the only reason they would have brought that up is because, one, I'm a public figure and they just want to slander me. But they've probably done the exact same thing. So what they're trying to do is push something on me when they've done the exact same thing, which makes them no better. But since I'm a public figure, I am more vulnerable to that, which is why Charlie Kirk was slandered as much as he was, because he was, one, a public figure, and two, he was so broadly hated and openly hated. And that's all they did. is just try and slander him when they have probably done the exact same thing.
Did you say that you responded to some of the people that...
Yeah, I usually do. I don't do it as much anymore because I've been busy and I don't find it relevant anymore.
Can I ask you, did you look, sometimes I'll see these clear like race baiting comments and stuff like that. And you go, and there's, 400 comments and reply. And then I go look at that person's profile and they have one post. And I'm like, oh, this is a bot. This is like an AI agitating, we have to take those critical thinking steps to look beyond like, who am I actually talking to here? Is this really somebody with a grievance?
The thing I've really noticed, and I wanted to point this out, is like there was one person, I think the comment got deleted and I noticed it. He said it openly comments. I was kind of surprised. Yeah. He said, "I wish you were dead." Okay, I clicked on his profile.
Sorry, is this a comment or a direct message?
Comment.
Okay.
And I went to his profile and I checked it, and underneath it there was a verse. But the thing I've been seeing in TikTok and all that is you can't be a Christian and promote violence at the same time.
He had a verse from the Bible?
A verse from the Bible and saying, I am Christian and all that kind of stuff. Like some bios have all the I'm openly Christian kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But it surprises me that they would promote the killing of one, a minor, and two, in general, and then have a Christian verse in there at all.
Yeah, that seems a little
contradictive. Yeah.
Contradictive, yeah. How did you feel when you first started getting some of these death threats?
My board tells me not to take it lightly, but I think it's a serious problem. But I think it's kind of funny how much time they would take out of their life to one, go into find my video, two, go into the comments and then type all of that out with a clear state of mind and then threaten a 13-year-old. Mm-hmm. I think it's just funny, to be honest. I think it's just
Mom.
Dumb.
Mom doesn't think it's funny at all.
I don't think so either.
I figured.
We run things by Uncle Mark a lot. Yeah. We trust some guys who are close to our family to make some of those decisions because you just never conceived of a time in your life where you'd have to worry about your 13-year-old child's safety. Not in this way.
That speaks to the world we live in.
Yeah.
Sadly.
What nation would I have to live in where I'm afraid to go out and just be out anymore?
Yeah.
Because one, I've already said something that is controversial, and that controversial thing can lead to people wanting me dead. Mm-hmm. That is not the America we were founded on. Yeah. And that is bad. And it just really speaks to what nation we live in now, that I'm afraid to, I'm not personally afraid, but I've met kids that are, because they've said to me that, hey, I want to be like you, but I'm afraid to speak out because of harassment. Kids have already been bullied. Some of them been beaten because they said something that somebody else didn't like. Mm. And when they get that experience, it only leads to them being not speaking out. And I think that is what I'm trying to end, is trying to say that we shouldn't promote violence against free speech. And it's mostly pushed by media, if you ask me. But I think that we really need to try and focus our attention on the youth, because they are the next voters and they are the next generation. I think that's a main priority for me.
It is, but that's the threat, because when you have that open dialogue, it gives space for truth to resonate. And I think Charlie was doing that, Charlie Kirk. And I think that one of the reasons why I personally don't think it was just one shooter kid. I think there was more involved to it. Mm-hmm. So I personally...
Allegedly.
Yeah, right. I think that there was... that this was a multifaceted assassination, because he was effective, because he was actually breaking down barriers, because he actually had influence with the youth. And the youth is so critical, as we know, because you guys are the future.
Yeah.
You're bringing that same spirit, and I'm feeling a lot of Charlie Kirk through you. And for somebody who is wanting to just have a peaceful conversation, even let's have heated disagreement peacefully, right?
Yeah.
But you have an opposition, and when I say opposition, I don't mean politics, I mean spiritually, that if you actually get to the truth, it means the annihilation of him. So
in my pledge that's on my website, it's kind of put simply, it says, I will never commit violence against free speech. It's a lot more fleshed out than that to sound smarter. But
at least you're honest.
Yeah. But the reason people are like, oh, there's violence against it? Because some people just genuinely don't know.
Yeah.
There's a study done by Rutgers University, and it stated that 50% of people think it is okay to kill somebody for their belief. 50%. That's a very large number.
That's a very large number.
And that is also a few of the reasons, like, holy crap, that's kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to point that out, how actually insane that it is. Mm-hmm. 50% is half of the population. That's a lot.
I think that's what disturbed people. The people that were like, I don't know why I think I need to go to church. I think it was because somewhere their intuition lit up and said, okay, maybe I didn't agree with him, but violence, shooting him in front of his family, his children.
Because everybody has moral standards. I mean, if you meet somebody, they're human. They're gonna have moral ideas, and even when they see that kind of thing, that what makes them think. Yeah, they think, whoa.
To me, it just puts so bluntly this good versus evil. So it is scary. And I would have said, maybe 20 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, you coming forward would be unnecessary exposure. But we're at the point, like we're here. We just watched a guy get shot in the neck, and his little girl saw him die.
And I think too that Charlie's age really does make him.
Your Charlie or
my Charlie? Yep. My Charlie's age makes him heard. So it wouldn't have been as extraordinary if Charlie Brown was 40. But being 13, seeing that adults in the room cannot solve a problem peacefully makes a child say, look, our nation isn't safe. There is something wrong here.
One of my favorite comments, it was like first day of it. It said, stuff's getting real when Charlie Brown comes out of retirement.
That one's going in the highlight reel.
Right.
Actually, I would say pinned. I think I pinned it.
I hope
that was a good one.
Let me ask you a couple questions about parenting. How do you raise a child like this in this culture, in this climate?
Brace yourself.
Yeah.
You brace yourself. So in homeschool, I think naturally.
Sorry, how many kids do you have?
So I have 3 daughters, and I have Charlie Brown, and I have a 42-year-old stepson.
Did all of the younger children get home educated?
So I actually was a benefactor of the Wisconsin laws in the 80s, and my 2 older girls, my oldest child is 40, and we would have homeschooled then. So about 2nd, 3rd grade, they ended up going to public school, and I watched the dichotomy of one in special ed, one in AP, and the failure of both of those extremes. So by the time I had my youngest daughter, she's now 22, I was already searching for homeschool curriculums. It took me 2 years to get through the catalog that had been produced by that time, 16 years after my children had first homeschooled.
Even for me in private school, I probably do. They probably weren't wrong, but they told me I had dysgraphia. So when my mind thinks the word, it's hard for my hand to write it. So they gave me a computer. And then when I started doing that, it made everything a lot easier. And then I couldn't do division problems. So they gave me a tool that basically did it for me. And that's one of the reasons I'm homeschooled now, is because when they give you all these tools that do everything for you, you don't learn. You have to learn to get through that. Because dysgraphia is just I think all the kids in my class did that, but it was a stage. But they over exaggerate that thing and they throw you into these braces, these crutches of like, oh no, we got to fix this, but it can be fixed yourself. I think that's what the public school is doing too. Even public, private, tribal. I did studies on these, and all they're doing is just putting crutches on people. Like, oh, you can't do this. Okay, we'll just give you these tools. But it doesn't teach them to fix that problem. It just teaches them that there's always gonna be another option. It pushes them into
mediocrity.
Wow, yeah, what she said.
In addition to the crutches, they also give you identity in it. And I think for a lot of kids who are struggling with where they fit in the world or don't have a great home situation and they're trying to be somebody and trying to be significant and to matter to other people, it's like, oh, here's my special certification that makes me different and unique, and I can stand out and be this dysgraphic. Is that the right word? I don't even know if that's the word. I've never heard that word before. But did you have something to share on that?
I did. So in homeschooling, then you really are letting your child lead. You're not to say that he gets to skip history if he doesn't like dates, right?
This isn't unschooling.
It's not. Okay. It's not. But I do let him lean into what he likes. So it took us a couple, 6 months or so to figure out he hates doing the cut and paste projects of lap books. He detested that. But he loves when he gets on a subject. He is not going to draw pictures sitting in the yard. It's not going to happen. But when he did get on a subject, he would dive deeply onto that one subject until he felt satisfied that he had at least come into what he believed was enough to know. And so he was a unit study kind of guy. If you said Constitution is what we're going to focus on, he would spend a month studying just that.
But the thing for me is like, if I like that thing, even for kids like that may be watching, like if you like something, it's easier to study on.
Yeah.
But you need to find I have a mindset that I use. Like I figured out that I like working now. So if I just use that I like working mindset and say, oh, by doing school, I'm working, I do school now. But when I study something, like in debate, you got to try new things because you never know what you're going to like and what you're not going to. I'm a harsh word, but I hated how she like kept making me do stuff, do this new. And I'm like, no, stop. I'll just try to stay at home, play video games. She sent me to a lead camp where I got to write constitutional bills. What the hecky? And, but when I was in debate, the whole autonomous system thing, I loved doing that. And I wouldn't have known if I didn't go. Mm-hmm. But when I studied that, I liked that. I was like, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. So then I studied that. And it's easier to study something you like than to study something that isn't. I actually found out yesterday that science is really cool, but there's aspects of it. So when you study something out, find something in it that is cool to you and then study that cool thing out. And then you can have that aspect. Because what public schools do is they just give you a book. And then they say, write these. Okay, you're good, done. You could have used a calculator. They wouldn't check. But it's mastery. You can do a problem 3 times and then you know, okay, you got it. You keep moving. Mm-hmm. Then it makes 1, school go faster, and 2, you learn a lot more.
Well, and all that students are spoken to in the exact same way at the same pace. Uh-huh. And one of the things that's really cool about what you just said is you've kind of hacked your own brain and found out like, ooh, I like to work. And you can kind of frame everything, especially if it's something you don't necessarily want to do. Yeah. You can frame it in a way that serves you.
Yeah.
My daughter was just a leader out of the get-go, like right off the bat. And so, when she was challenged with something, I would present it to her. I was like, hey, well, this is what leaders deal with. And you have to find a way to communicate. Other people see it differently, whatever. My son is much more of a connector. He loves people. He loves to connect. So I try to communicate to him in a way that speaks to his unique gift. And to me, that's real education. I think the word education, do you know where it comes from?
No.
The Latin.
Let me guess, it's Latin? Yeah. I hate Latin.
I'm making this up to make myself sound smart right now. I think it's Latin. I think the original root word was educar, which means to draw out. And if you look at our current education system, it's all about cramming in. That's why we say you got to cram for the finals. And then, of course, you talk to the kid 2 months after the test. And you go, well, you ask the same questions. I don't know. It's all short-term memory to just spit it out on the test to get the grade.
And then you just forget about it.
Move on.
When we homeschooled his sister, I dove real deeply into principled approach, and it was an incredibly difficult way to go. Charlotte Mason-esque.
Okay.
But basically it asks the children to master a subject. If you can master a math problem in 2, why do I need you to do it for 10? Mm-hmm. So it was aimed at mastery, but it also deep dove into subject matter. And it made them study out the definition of words, because a lot of times we communicate ideas that we're not fully convinced we understand because we don't understand the words we're using. Mm-hmm. So just like educate, it means to press upon, to engrave. And so that Latin root word is literally putting pen to paper to engrave a fact on the heart. That's what it was. So it's not just mastery, but it is to put in the heart of a child exactly the way he was to go. It was to literally flesh out his call. Who is he? Who is she? Mm-hmm. And let them be that.
As opposed to this.
Well, even in Christian schools, they'll put the children together in groups and have them decipher or decide a problem in a group. So there is no critical thinking needed. They simply default to one another. And the strongest voice in that group will be the last word. Mm-hmm. So those children never get to really debate a subject, or they never get to decide for themselves what it really meant, because now we've got groupthink, which again, I think leans us into 60% of us don't have an inner dialogue.
Yeah, or it's being hijacked. I mean, it's literally being hijacked by, and I'm guilty of this too, just the continuous everlasting scroll that never ends, and you turn your brain off. You were saying before about how technology does the work for you. We talked about a little bit of this in our pre-call where I think they've done studies where debaters I think it was debaters or just even kids in high school or in college rather, who were using AI. And when they were in debate, they were great at starting the debate, but then they couldn't finish the thought. They couldn't articulate their point. And they discovered that it was because they were starting prompts on AI, and then AI would flesh it all out. And they go, "Oh yeah, that's what I want." But the brain isn't making the connections to put a whole cohesive thought.
That's what I
together.
call holes in thought. I just came up with that on the spot. You like that?
Nice.
That's good.
Holes in thought.
Holes in thought.
Yeah, it's true.
So that's one of the reasons I really love NCFCA, even though she forced me to do it.
You're welcome.
Yep. Mm-hmm. When I did it, I had no expectations for it, and I thought, oh my god, this is gonna suck. I love it. I love writing speeches. I love writing debate cases because then it really makes you think. 13, and I like thinking, what the heck is wrong with me? But when you flesh out a debate problem, it makes you feel good. Like for anybody that's learning, just try once to do something, and then once you figure something out and it actually clicks, it is like it's the most refreshing feeling in the world. You're like, well, I just did that, and then you want more of that. That's why learning is so extremely good and extremely beneficial to you, because one, it can feel good, and two, you just learn. That's why I love debate, is because you learn a new thing every day, even from other cases. Or when you debate, my last topic, I had like you do values, and you're like, oh, I really like that value, so I'm just gonna steal that. So you write it down, and then you do a whole new case on that value, and then you do this and that and this and that. It keeps you busy, and it keeps you informed. It keeps you to keep learning. It teaches you to write more. It teaches you to do everything else, all in one.
A nerd.
You watch yourself, young lady. Hey now, don't be hating on me now.
We need nerds right now.
We do.
We need nerds. Charlie Kirk was a nerd.
Yeah. Yes, we know.
Yeah.
You guys are wielding swords in the intellectual and spiritual realm, and not every sword swinger in the real life can do that. So you've got guys that, thank God, can serve us with force and protect us, but you have to have the intellectual warriors too. So
can't have holes in thought.
Can't have holes in thought.
No, sir.
We'll get the sister on that one. Let's get some merch out. I want to see the merch by the time this podcast comes out.
She's probably working on it now.
Charlie, have you ever lost a debate?
Hey. Okay, so in NCFCA, it goes like this. When you do a debate, they go in rounds.
Sorry, really quick. What is it called?
National Christian Forensics something Association.
Okay.
It's a C. What is a C?
NCFCA.
Wow. I'm missing a C.
That's intense. Forensics.
Yeah.
Christian
Forensics. So when you do a debate, they do it in rounds. So it's a whole thing. It's like a community. It's really cool. So you go to a tournament. I love in-person tournaments, and it's usually at a church or something. And when you go in, you do rounds. It's one-on-one with a judge, and you give your case. They give their case, a whole spiel, all the rebuttals and all that. And then at the end, the judges. The cool thing about it is the judges can't talk to you, so you don't get biased. I feel like that's kind of odd and yet kind of cool. But at the end of the week, they go in rounds. So there's 6 rounds for the beginning.
You're delaying the answer to the question of whether or not you lost a debate. You're taking the long route.
I am.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you recognized it.
Hey. So when
you're trying to impress us, and I was getting impressed. I was like, wait a second, he doesn't answer the question.
So when they do it, you get 6 rounds. It's 6 rounds a day, and then by those, you look at your days. And at the end of the week, the best one I've gotten, I think, is I won 2 rounds, lost 4. So
Okay.
I've actually lost 20 debates in the past 2 years.
Okay.
I'm a novice. All right, leave me alone.
One of the most critical values and skills of a true leader is humility. So, as I'm a Joe Rogan fan, I've listened to a lot of his podcasts. He talks about jujitsu and how most guys that go into jujitsu are some of the greatest guys you'll meet because they've had their butts handed to them over and over and over again. So I think this is good, tilling ground for you to develop some humility and, sharpen your sword a little bit too. I think psychologically, there's a lot of people that are attached to being right, and they don't necessarily know how to...
Self-centeredness is like kind of...
Self-centeredness, self-righteousness, perhaps. To me, it's emotional. It's a subjective emotion that wants to be accepted. And they're identified with that. And I find that that's a difficult position to put people in because you can never really satisfy the subjective feeling unless it's just fully accepted. You know what I mean? Okay. What's the forensics part of that?
I think forensics is just not like scientific forensic, but I think it's just another word for speech, like public speaking.
Okay.
So I've actually, yesterday, I spoke at the Liberty Summit. That was in front of 120 people, so that'd be forensics.
Okay. Gotcha.
And they do apologetics. They do
like apologetics, biblical wise, so like
persuasive speech, informative, digital
like
presentation,
extemporaneous, which is where they do like it's just like apologetics. They just make you do it on political topics.
For my audience that doesn't know what apologetics are, I mean, I know what they are, but for my audience that doesn't, why don't you explain what that is? Because sometimes older people forget what that means.
So in the case of NCSCA, it'd be defending your faith or just defending a belief in general.
Okay.
So like apologetics, they tell you, okay, this is what you believe in this. We're going to ask you some questions and you're going to tell us how you defend that through, they usually make you bring up evidence, like for, in that case, scriptures and stuff.
Okay.
But it's just defending your faith.
That makes sense.
Or a belief.
Have you been taking any self-defense, like actual physical self-defense?
I did for a while. I actually went to a mixed martial arts for a little bit and then I kind of quit because it didn't become interesting to me because I actually started, that was a year ago? I stopped going around a year ago. I mean, I can throw some fake punches and hope something lands, but I mean, no, I'm not. Full answer, no. I'm
not a martial artist, but I had a similar initial response. And then it was impressed upon me that jujitsu is really just physical puzzle solving. It's intellectual. It's actually, it's a chess game. This guy's he's going for this move. Here's how I counter that move. It's one of the few things I've been learning about jujitsu, but it might be interesting. Given your rising status, it probably wouldn't hurt to know how to handle yourself. Yeah. But it's also one of those things, there's such a mind-body connection. Mm-hmm. And so there's the puzzle problem solving part of it. And then there's the actual like physical.
When I was in martial arts,
of it.
When they taught you that, I had a great instructor, Master John. Love him.
Shout out, Master John.
Shout out, Master John. You best. What he did was he told us that martial arts isn't the act. Like a lot of other martial arts can teach you like how to attack a person just because you can. But what martial arts does, it doesn't teach you that. It teaches you defense and then the offensive to that defense from like checks, from like parries. So they come at you, you know how to deflect that. So the whole idea is they teach you a lot of just like quick moves that like make them go away, like back them up and be like, hey, I don't really want to do this right now, but I definitely could. So I think that's what that mixed martial arts that's what we did, right. Is it just teaches you like how to offensively defense yourself. So somebody comes at you, you parry check or whatever, and then maybe some stuff goes down.
Yeah.
And you never know.
Yeah.
But it teaches you both sides. It's not made for a complete offensive. I heard that jiu-jitsu might be like on offensive approach.
Not the best jiu-jitsu spokesperson.
Me neither.
I've watched a few MMA fights and it certainly looks offensive to me.
Yeah, we could definitely do that.
I actually have somebody that I should introduce you to if you're open to it. I've had him on the podcast before. He was he's a Saul to Paul transformation. Like he was a bad dude in his former life and found Jesus, and now he's but he was the top before he found Christ. He was one of the top bare knuckle fighters. He was a great street warrior. Mm-hmm. Actually, they brought him into MMA before and then he converted to Christianity and let go of that part of it, but he still teaches it. And he's given me an open invitation. So if you ever want to do that, it'd be kind of neat to roll with him. From your perspective, what is it about your parents that has been helpful for you in your journey?
Oh no, I think we need to edit this entire section.
Yeah. Well.
They're great leaders. My father is really good at I've learned that I can how to connect with people from my father. Actually, since doing this, it's like by watching him half of my life, I can most of my life by watching him connect with people, talk to people. It's really easy to say, okay, I can do that. You just replicate that. And then my mother is really good at marketing, online kind of stuff, and like just leadership in general. So you learn from that. And then not even parents, like my sister, she's great at studying. I kind of learned how to study from her. Mm-hmm. But it's just stick to parents. They're great leaders. I can definitely learn a lot like from leadership to like design in leadership and like how to connect with people and how to like deal with conflicts, all that kind of stuff, just from my parents.
Nice. From your perspective, what are the values that you're wanting to help instill into your children?
I want them to think for themselves. If they have a relationship with Christ, that is the most important guide that they're going to have. I want them to be able to study out and know who they are because they're going to have to own that. I want them to suffer natural consequences. Mm-hmm. I don't want to continually rescue them. I want them to feel the pain of making a mistake. and being sorry for that mistake and then doing it better next time. I want them to recognize what is good and almost good, not good and bad. They can see that. A 2-year-old can tell that. What I need my kids to recognize is almost good. I need them to be able to recognize when someone needs their guidance or their help or their friendship versus someone who wants to be a parasite to them and to their character. I think that I want them to know who their character is, and the cost of losing it is more costly than making just a simple mistake. If they sacrifice who they are to become someone they're not, it is hard to get it back.
Indeed it is. Can you expand a little bit on what you mean by almost good?
Yeah. So I think that there are a lot of good things that Charlie could put his attention to. A lot of things that he may even enjoy, like drone flying. His dad bought him a drone to help us in the marketing and promotions business that we have. So we do a lot of events. We need a ton of camera angles, and Charlie is very good at it. Except for when he hit the berm in the backyard.
Hey, we leave that out.
Okay, notwithstanding. He said, you do realize they don't have simulators for this stuff, right? Okay, that notwithstanding, he could be giving his attention and his time to that. Instead, he's giving his time and attention to studying what is free speech, why do we need it, and who do I need to help bolster their boldness.
Even more than that is the Bible and God in general, because I'm trying to strengthen relationship with God. Just wanted to add that there.
I appreciate that so much.
I got you. Don't worry.
So there are things that would be good for him to do, but there are things that
best, really.
Right. But these things are the things that really fuel and feed both his character and his call. So good and almost good.
Yeah, I like that. That's great. What do you do for fun outside of drone flying?
Shoot, I'm a regular 13-year-old. I want to point this out. So what everybody else knows, I'm your regular kid. I stayed home. I play video games. I talk with friends. I go outside. I play with my nephew. I watch TV. I'm your regular kid. Before this, I was traveling the country for doing kind of car stuff. I really like classic cars. I like vehicles, all that kind of stuff.
What's your favorite one?
Favorite car, 67 Chevelle. Wow, Chevelle. That'd be my favorite car.
Okay.
Last month it was a Mustang, so it's an ever evolving.
Yeah, you just find something you like. 67 Chevelle with Invisor stripes. But what I do is I like playing video games. I like, I guess since I'm a nerd, I like reading the Constitution. But reading.
Somewhere out there in your future is a girl that's gonna love that. You know, there's not a ton, but. It's the right one.
Whoa, watch out. My mother's in here.
I'm kind of the guard dog.
Have you started to, I mean, your voice has barely changed, let alone, we haven't gone there yet.
Oh.
It's coming.
Have we gone there yet, son?
Gone where?
Yeah.
To girlfriends, nothing?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, once. But
okay.
Once. But one of the things I learned at camp, the camp that I went to this, what was it? This summer? We were talking about it because it was happening at camp.
Okay.
It was actually just me and my counselor. They do a one-on-one thing. And we decided, me and him, personally decided that he's out in 2022. And we said, getting a girlfriend now or getting a partner now is just leading you to divorce. Because I think from experience, I think that a lot of those relationships don't work out because it's just an in-the-moment kind of thing. To put this at an extreme thing, one of the pastor that came there to do chapel and everything, said that you make friends with your flesh when you go for worldly possessions, which could be just the feeling of love, I guess. But what we decided was that being a girlfriend or getting a girlfriend now or getting a boyfriend now is just leading you to divorce in the future because you teach yourself to move on faster and that just to have quick, momentary relationships and then just end it. That's why a lot of the divorces happen now because there's no communication, there's no actual connection. It's just an in the moment kind of thing, and then you're done. And you do it over and over, and then it just leads you to divorce. That's why I've really because I have her still, so that's the main reason right there. But
that's a lot of wisdom from a 13-year-old.
Hey.
I mean, there really was for somebody that doesn't have a lot of experience just yet, I presume. That to me is probably one of the
40. It is younger. Hidden
has always been 3 going on 30. 13.
I sense that a little bit.
Yes.
But yeah, that part's coming. But and truthfully, like on a serious note, it's something that you need to be mindful of, and it certainly sounds like you've been already,
been through
being aware of that. Yeah. because it can be a slippery slope, and it can be a very especially for men, it's a very enticing offer.
Proverbs talks about it a lot. Like if you're struggling with lust, go to Proverbs, start at 1 and just read and read and read. It is a great book to start in. If you're a Christian and are struggling with lust, that's where you would go.
That's good to know. I'll take you up on that. That of all the avenues that I feel vulnerable to, that's probably the one that I've done the most work on, the most transforming in the last couple of years. But I haven't fully read all of that, so I need to do that. What would you say to somebody who is maybe struggling with, we were talking about identities before, something that our generation, and your dad off camera here, we've seen in our lives, the dramatic and radical shift culturally very, very, very quickly. You guys were born into it. I say this to my children. They don't have the perspective that we do because we saw it happen so dramatically fast. For example, my kids, when they were in junior high, whether or not you were heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, pansexual, like all these different menu options, I didn't even know existed, first of all, but like that was the big cultural thing. And this was at a private Christian school. It permeated our culture. What do you say to somebody who's struggling to identify with, their gender or what have you?
Again, I'm 13, so I'm not going to have an extreme idea on this.
Subject to change.
Yeah. One of the things I would say is like, I'm not against anything. Like I'm not against the gay. I'm not against the trans. I'm just saying that you should definitely flesh out that. I think it's a lot of influence. But what I also want to say is at the moment that I started was based on free speech. It's not exactly what I fleshed out, and I don't have a firm answer for you. But I like to stand for like stance wise. I don't think that my stance is as important as the questions I have, like who's on guard for our free speech, all that kind of stuff. But I don't have a firm answer for you.
I actually love that answer. That's such a hard answer for people who are in the spotlight to deal with, because you're expected to know everything. You should have an answer to everything.
I've been asked about everything. But I'm just 13.
Well, especially at 13 for sure. But even when you get to be older, it's okay to not know something. There's so much pressure right now in this post Charlie Kirk assessment of what's happening, and there's all these different narratives that are coming forward. And is she authentic? Is she being influenced by somebody else? Whatever. And there's such a pressure online to say what you believe, and it's as if you're ready to plant your flag. And this is exactly how I think.
Where there's people, there's drama.
100%. But the message that I want to share is like, it's okay to not decide. That this is not the needle mover. This is not, your soul is not resting on this decision. But culturally, the pressure is there to make it, where do you fit in all of this?
Well, don't you think too that, again, going back to our childhood, I made a name for myself in the neighborhood going down on a skateboard on my knees. The more you bled as a girl, the cooler you were in the neighborhood, right? Okay. But these guys have had to be able to flesh out their identity among millions. So I think that the extremes that we see are those screaming for a place. They don't produce anything. They're not contributing anything. They don't have a voice that sounds a message that they care about. So extremism becomes their identity. And I think it's the way that our kids are screaming for a place to be heard. And it happens in this enormous world of everybody looks the same.
I think that's one of the biggest things as parents, to slow down, be present with your children. I think the two biggest thing that children want, not just children, adults too, is we want to be seen and we want to be heard, and I think when people don't do that, that's when you get frustrated. You see tantrums as children and you see tantrums as adults, or you see violence, unfortunately, as adults. And I humbly think that that's a place where Christians can do a better job of creating a bridge with people that don't think like they do. One of the most frustrating things that I see is when people are clearly in pain, clearly screaming, subtext to me, I want to be heard. I want to be seen. I want to be accepted. I want to be loved. That's what I hear when I see the vitriol, when I see and frustratingly, a lot of times you'll see Christians that meet them with just this one-dimensional, the Bible says this, and there's this huge gap between it. It doesn't mean it's wrong, and it takes a lot of courage to go into those environments, but I think we can do a better job connecting.
I think that Christians, I think, not to slander, but I think a lot of Christians just hit people over the head with the Bible. I don't think that's the way to do it. I think
how should we do it?
I think that it's a great thing just to lead them in, be like, hey, I'm not trying to pressure anything on you, but this is what I believe in. You don't have to believe in this. But I think that what a lot of Christians are doing wrong is forcing their belief upon somebody. They're like, we like to say that a lot is like hitting somebody over the head with the Bible. Mom could probably speak to that a lot better than I can. But like when you say, this is what I believe in, and you should, instead of saying, this is the idea that I have, you're welcome to it, but I'm not forcing it on you. It creates an invitation. Because when I look at it, there's a couple of churches even in my area that I'm just like, those aren't very inviting. Like, to be a good church, you need to be inviting. You need to be, all churches say, I include, which is why a lot of churches have that support gayness or all that kind of stuff, because they're trying to bring in more people, but they aren't inviting to people that aren't, that are just trying to stay neutral. They're just trying to learn about God. But when you try and pressure political ideologies on them, that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for a relationship with God. They're not looking to learn more about politics in the church.
Dr. Phil used to say that every relationship you end up with somebody is not going to be right. So you can choose. You're either going to be right or you're going to be a hero. And I think that speaks to exactly what you're talking about too. When someone comes at you with a differing opinion, you can either be right or you can be their hero. And that is to be kind and listen, which is what Charlie talks about all the time. I personally, when someone is incredibly grotesquely mean, they usually do it in a private message. And I usually like to ban them because there's no discourse there. You're attacking a 13-year-old child. I don't understand. So once I've been kind once and you're still coming at me, I ban them. Charlie doesn't like it when I do that because he feels like they have a right to say what they need to say. And my response should be kindness or nothing. I think his position is better than mine. I want to cut it off because it's uncomfortable.
I'm taking I guess you could call it a high road approach.
You are. I don't want to listen to that. But that cuts off the conversation altogether. His way is really the hero.
It ruins the idea of having a civil discourse when you completely cut off everybody that's trying to say something that's bad, instead of saying, okay, no, I'm not gonna do that, get out of here. Like on Saturday, I hosted a Q&A debate thing, and I had a few people on there with some extreme ideas, but instead of saying, hey, we don't want to listen to those, get out of here, we all debated those because they may genuinely think that we don't need to, but it'd be a great thing to try and teach them the way of thinking. But when you ban somebody for saying something you don't like, also it can be framed as me for silencing free speech, but they have a right to say that, and they have every right to believe in that. But it's our job as Christians, to lead them to a right moral path. Even if it's not successful, it's the thought that counts, I guess.
Do you think that there's a difference between heated disagreement and somebody who is threatening you?
Yes. The heated disagreement would be somebody that has a belief and they want to debate that belief. That's why it's a disagreement, because then they're willing to talk about it. But when it's a attack,
a physical threat,
then when they're saying they want me dead, that's not something I can debate. Like, okay, you said that, great, good for you, whatever.
Are you okay banning that person?
No.
Still give them,
because then you can ask them, why do you want me dead? What have I done wrong? Why?
Yeah, I think that Jesus said that I did not come to unite; I came to divide. And one of the lessons in that, in my humble opinion, was that to divide the righteous from the unrighteous. And
pure from the when he did the ark, he had one clean animal and one unclean animal. So when you don't need to divide everything, but like when you put two and two together, you can. There is a whole study behind that.
Basically, to me, this is a boundaries issue. If you're willing to intellectually debate, let's have vehement disagreements. Let's have space for that, I should say. If you're going to verbally attack, or I should say threaten, that to me falls outside of the boundaries. Now we're not in intellectual...
Fair fight rules.
Yeah.
I call them fair fight rules. And in our family, we don't fight old subjects. We don't fight with name calling. We don't fight with threats.
What do you mean old subjects?
So like if you have a disagreement about something that happened 6 months ago, that's not a fair fight.
Could we just pause for a second and let all the ladies hear the past Oh, those are old arguments.
It's old argument.
Oh,
if I'm
man.
mad at you about something you did today,
Yeah.
let that be what the fight is about. If it's 6 months old, that's on me because I haven't communicated.
I don't
still
think
upset.
I've ever heard a woman say that.
It's
So congrats.
absolutely true. Fair
is
fight
true.
rules.
Round of applause.
It is true. That's really unique. That's really special. I appreciate you saying that as
Fair
a man.
fight rules. Well, and I think that goes into what Charlie's trying to describe in debate too. You say that it falls out of those bounds.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I think if we don't set up those fair fight rules in the beginning, how do we know where they are?
Mhm.
And at this point, we're willing to take shots at people in stadiums with no regard for their others' safety or theirs, clearly. And so we have lost our fairness. We've lost our idea of fair fighting.
We've lost the moral everything. Really.
We have. But
Yeah.
how did we get here, right? So we extricate God from everything
Yeah.
and then expect that we'll still remain a moral people. And it was never going to be that.
I think it's important for Americans to also really internalize that we're under spiritual attack. This is not just a populace that has drifted because we don't care. I think the revival has really shown that there are a lot of people that still do care, that are willing to forgive the very people who are persecuting and murdering us. That to me is righteousness. And so there's a lot of Americans that need to remember that this isn't just your neighbor's gone crazy. We're all under a multi-pronged spiritual, physical, air, water, food. We're on a multi-pronged attack. So there's going to be some casualties. I say that metaphorically in that whole process. So,
there's going to be casualties. I think one of the best things I ever read as a Christian in the first 3 years of my coming to Christ was the Fox's Book of Martyrs. It described a faith worth dying for, not just living for. And if we go to the cross without the expectation that we live according to a plan written for us, but that it was enough for us to be willing to die for, it's not a faith at all. Some of the most exquisite stories of faith have changed the world. We're watching that happen right now. A 19-year-old girl named Blandina of Lyons was a slave girl to a Christian family. They found themselves in the arena, being torn apart by animals. This girl they particularly hated. They beat her, they burned her, they put her in front of animals that mauled her for 5 days in a row. You may not want this on the podcast, but this is the true story.
Yep.
And this story of this 19-year-old girl, on day 5, they decide that she cannot die by any other means, so they're going to set her on fire. The stadium is full. The emperor is killing for her to be assassinated, and this child begins to sing. And the people that are watching this for the last 5 days as entertainment begin to leap the wall to get to this girl as she's singing on her way out from this planet to hear what kind of Jesus would be worth dying for. That is how this church started. That is how this revelation began. And unless we teach our children that they have a faith that is worth dying for, it isn't worth living for.
I think we're in the point of time where by being a Christian, you have to believe and you have to understand the threat that puts upon you. Like by being a Christian, you even speaking freely anymore, but being Christian, it genuinely puts a target on your back. You have to accept the idea that you could end up a martyr. You could end up the martyr for the belief in Christ or the martyr of the belief in free speech. Because by doing both of those things, you're putting a target on your back that could end up with you either severely hurt or dead. I think that we're in that time where you need to accept that's what you need to do. You need to accept that you could end up a martyr.
Can I ask you, and then we'll kind of wrap things up here. Do you think that we are in end times right now?
I'm not gonna say nothing I'll regret, but I think we're getting extremely close.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of signs. I think that God's hinting at a lot of stuff. Nobody knows the day, nobody knows the day, the time, nor the hour, as states in the Bible. So I think that it's hard. I'm not gonna tell you when. It's gonna happen tomorrow, everybody else was. You saw those TikToks, didn't you? That rapture was going to happen on the 22nd of September?
Rosh Hashanah,
yeah. But I think that we are nearing end times. I think that there's a lot going on in Israel and all that kind of stuff like that, because that's where the Bible states that it's probably going to go down. It's going to go down. I think we are
the biggest show on earth. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're going to be. I think we're nearing.
We're close. It certainly feels like we're close.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that had anything to do with
Charlie Kirk's death?
Yeah.
I think that Me and Mom were talking about this the other day. We decided that what did we say? I was talking about like why would I ask the question that I'm sure a lot of Christians, even new Christians, will ask is like, why would God let this happen?
Yeah.
I think I'll answer that really quick. It's because we had free will. You can do whatever you want. God let this happen because he doesn't want us to be slaves to his belief or to him, because that's not what he wants. He wants us to critically think that God is right. See that? You like that?
Good.
Nice.
Good. Nice tie-in. Nice tie-in.
But I think that I don't think God planned for this to happen. Even though some people say God knows everything, I really think he knows it's going to happen, but I don't think he planned for it to happen. But God knows how to make a great thing out of a tragedy.
That's a big difference.
There's a difference between God being in control and God being in charge.
Which is what?
I'm in charge in my family with my children, but I don't control everything they do. I guide, I guard, I protect, I instruct, and I give them tools to think for themselves. I'm in charge, but I'm not controlling everything they think or do or want to do. There's a huge difference. And I think we mistake God's control. He's not. He's given us a choice, which is why we're in the mess we're in.
Yes.
Which is what he's describing.
Well, we should probably start to wrap this up. I think you've done a very impressive job. I'm very impressed. When I was your age, I was, Sports Illustrated was the biggest thing in my life at that time. So very, very impressive work that you've been doing so far, Charlie. Very courageous too.
Thank you.
It gives a glimmer of hope for some of us that believe that there's a brighter tomorrow, regardless of whether or not this is end times or not. I think this is a critical time that we're all in. And it's really, really cool to see somebody like yourself step forward and put yourself in vulnerable positions to speak. It is, if we don't have that, we don't have anything. So anyway, I appreciate you, man. And I appreciate your time and your wardrobe. Who's on wardrobe?
Me.
You've got wardrobe.
They bought them. I just wear them.
Styling.
Thank you.
Yeah, you look really good. And Lory, thank you so much.
My honor.
And Bruce, thank you. And of course, Uncle Mark.
That's right.
Yeah, awesome interview. And I would love to have you back on at some point and get an update and see how things are going. If you remember the little people, you're gonna blow up by that point. You're gonna
be too big for me.
You're already blown up. Yeah. Are you gonna start your own podcast, or have you been podcasting?
I'm not gonna leak nothing, but allegedly it's an idea. We are thinking about it.
Okay.
It's on the block. What do we call it? It's on the chopping block right now.
Okay.
We're fleshing it out.
I think that is a great idea. Yeah.
Okay.
Because you really
Noted.
Already at 13, like you really have a solid grasp of these concepts.
Mm-hmm.
And even though you've lost all those debates,
Hey, edit that out.
Anyway, one shout out for the merch. Where do people go to get the merch?
www.bigcartel.com/weare.
Big Cartel, we are.
If you want the website, that's
wearecharlie.biz.
Okay. That's
the
where you can sign the
Instagram?
pledge. The Instagram is longlivecharlie_. That's the answer.
Do we have a YouTube channel yet?
We do. We are Charlie
Just search
HQ.
We Are Charlie and just find the nicest looking
We
one.
Are
add all the
Charlie
links to this
HQ.
as well.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And Lory, thank you so much for helping create this kid.
Yeah, my honor.
Oh, congratulations. All right.
Thank
Let's
you.
wrap it up there.
Thank you.
Good deal.